Okay, so in the rest of the course, actually, we will go through the things in a more process-oriented way. Like we will understand how to create layouts. For example, something that looks like this. How do I add buttons on my screen, and when I click a button, how to handle that thing to be clicked. Adding background services, media players, all of that stuff. Okay, how to debug. So we'll get into all of that, but I think in this intro section, a couple of things that we should very essentially learn in the beginning is how to track your code, basically when say you are sorting an array in say C++ or Java, and your sorting is not working correctly. What you do is you debug. And how do you debug? You debug it by printing the current state of the array using printf or system.out.println kind of a function on your screen, right? So in Android also, we when we run our app on our device, we should be able to trace which part of the code has run, which part has not run. So that's the debugging part. We're just going to see how we do that. And the other thing is understanding a very important concept called the activity lifecycle. Okay, so if you go to the activity page on developer.android.com, and one of the top things that is explained here is about the activity lifecycle. And this lifecycle is a very important thing because as you have seen, the code here, I have not created an object of main activity. In fact, as of right now, there is no code written except there is this function called onCreate, and inside this onCreate function, my layout, which is the activity main.xml file, there is a function called setContentView, inside which that layout has been passed. That's it. So what happens is, like, the activity is created and it is destroyed, and this entire life cycle is actually managed by the Android operating system rather than by you. So there's a difference between say a UI based and a platform kind of a thing like Android versus when you're working with Java on the command line. So here you are not constructing the activity object, it gets constructed for you. You only get to know when it has been constructed, and it has certain steps like create, start, resume, pause, stop, destroy. So we'll just understand that. So first of all, I think how do I get to know that on create has been called? So what you can do is uh, add this line here. If you type logd, I think this autocomplete should come already like this. uh, and what you can do is here add a you know val called tag equal to, and I can say my app. So this tag is important because we will be able to search our print lines using that tag. And if you type logd, then I think this auto completion comes, and in the autocomplete there is this tag that automatically gets used in the logging, and the name of the function gets automatically added here. Okay, so that's the on create function. And what I'll do is, if I run this project on my app, and at that time, if you open the thing called a logcat here, so there would be the option to open logcat, or if this view is like this, so here there is logcat, so you can click open and the logcat gets opened. So you can select which device you want to see logs from, you can select which app do you want to see logs from, and once that's open, you can search by your tag. So my tag was my app, so if I search using that, as you can see that at a certain time this on create was called. Okay, now if I remove my app from my screen, and then if I open that app again, so this is my app, you will see that on create gets called again. If I just click back and I click on that again, so every time I do that, you will see on create gets called again and again like this. Okay, so there are a few other functions inside this activity lifecycle, which is on create, on start, on resume. So first an activity is created, then it is started, and then it is resumed, and after it is resumed, our activity is said to be in a running state. Okay, and when our activity is in running state, if another activity comes into the foreground, then it becomes at a pause state. If our activity is no longer visible on the screen, it goes to the stop state. if the activity is finished or like destroyed by the OS, then it goes into a destroy state. If from pause it can go to resume and return back into running state. From stop it can go to start and resume that cycle. So when you create a new activity, it has to go through create, start, resume, then only it will be in the running state. So let's see if we can override these classes. So what you can do is you can press Ctrl O, and that generates the override window where you can start typing. So on start function is there, right? So here is, I think, on start. So you can write override fun on start. So this is how you override the on start function. And here we can add our log d line for on start. Okay, then we can add on resume. Okay, and in on resume also we can add our log d line accordingly, and then we will have our on pause code, and inside our on pause code also we'll just add our pause line, and on stop code, and similarly on the on destroy code. Okay, so what we have here is we have added these log lines so that I can get to see when these events happen, and the events are create, start, resume, and pause, stop, and destroy. Now if I restart my app and like build and then flash onto my install onto my phone and then it will run, and if I go to logcat, I will see that as of now let's just remove all the code, and let's, if I just open this app again, so see create, start, and resume has happened. And if I go to recent screen, then it is at pause and stopped state. If I click on back again, then it's start and resume happens. Okay, if I so just do it very fast, then you can see it only pauses and resumes, but it does not stop and start. So if I click on this wait a little bit, then stop happens and start also happens. Okay, or if I go to my home, then also pause and stop has happened, and if I come back again, so start and resume has happened, but the activity has not been destroyed. Destroy happens if I click on back here, then it has been paused, stopped, and destroyed. Okay, and then next time when I try to open it again, it will sorry, it's a different app. If I open it again, it will go through create, start, and resume the entire thing. So as you can see, if another activity comes to the foreground, or the current activity is not in the foreground. Foreground means it's not being actively interacted with or being animated. So when that's not happening, then it can go into pause state. From pause state, again the activity becomes usable, and it comes into resume and running state. Stop happens when some other activity comes into the picture, like the home screen comes into the picture, or some other thing comes onto the screen, and the current activity is not there on the screen anymore. At that stage it is the stop state. After stop, your app can get killed because some other apps might take more memory or something else, and they might get killed. Or another thing that can happen is that you go to recents and you open your app again. If when you open your app again, your uh, you know the app will, the activity will go from stop to restart and start. And finally, the another thing that can happen is somebody might send the signal to the app that we want to close the activity. So in that case, the activity will actually get destroyed, and then the on destroy function gets called. There is no guarantee of the on destroy function being called, because sometimes, like if there is out of memory problem, like there is not enough RAM left, so the OS is deleting some running apps from the memory. In those cases, it does not print the current state of the memory to that application. It just simply kills the process, and in that case you won't find the on destroy being called, but the next time the application is started, you would still see that it starts from on create. That can happen sometimes. So there is no guarantee that destroy always gets called. Sometimes it gets forcibly closed, and then in that case destroy does not get called. Okay, so yeah, that's the activity life cycle, and it's a very important concept to understand in Android, and that's something that mostly all entry level Android development interviews will definitely ask you about the life cycle, and ask you some questions about, when did you take it, and like since when you've been using and all of that.